Welcome to Jank Play TCG. My name's Landon, and here we play Jank. And today I'm going over the Jank list for Shrouded Fable. And today is the release date for Shrouded Fable. Go out, get your product, open it up, see if you pull any of the cards from this Jank list. Now, what is the Jank list? The Jank list is just the cards from the set that I think are worthy of Jank. They look like fun, they could be good, they could be bad. Either way, I kind of want to build a deck around them, right? And surprisingly, there's a lot of cards from the set on this list, actually. The set only has 64 unique cards. Anything beyond that is just alt arts and whatnot, but 64 unique cards. And this Google Sheets, this thing I'm going to go through, I found like 20-something cards I want to build a deck from. Shrouded Fable looks like a ridiculously fun set. So let's get started, right? And the first one is Galvantula. Galvantula is an interesting Pokemon. It's a stage 1, but it's got this ability, Compound Eyes. Attacks used by this Pokemon do 50 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon that has an ability. A lot of active Pokemon will have abilities, right? Blood Moon or Saluna will have ability. Charizard EX will have an ability. There's a lot of Pokemon that will have an ability. And then you gotta look at Shocking Web, which for 2 energy does 50 damage. Plus, if this Pokemon has any lightning energy attached, this attack does 80 more damage. Meaning, in the grand total of this, Shocking Web can do 180 damage. You just need 2 energy on there, and your opponent's active to have an ability. Something also fun with this is Technical Machine Crisis Punch works with the Compound Eyes, meaning Crisis Punch can do 330 damage, and that's knocking out some of these Stage 2 EXs, right? For just those 3 energy, 1 attack from a stage 1 single prize Pokemon. I think Galvantula could be fun. I think it could see play. I think it could be fun to have a whole deck based off this. Shocking Web doing 180 is still something to consider for 2 energy. So yeah, I like this Galvantula. Next up, we got Dartrix, right? And really the only reason to talk about Dartrix is the fact that it has United Wings as an attack, which means it works within that United Wings deck. That deck just seems to be getting more and more powerful. I believe on screen I have all the United Wings except the Kilowattrel that evolves from Wattrel here. And that means there's a grand total of 5 of them. They do 20 damage for each one in the discard. If you have all 4 copies of them, that's 20 copies in the discard. Times 20, that's 400 damage coming from these small single prize Pokemon. That's a lot, right? There's the Ditto from the Pokemon Go set that I believe lets you use an attack of a basic Pokemon in the discard. So United Wings could get ridiculous, right? Unless that Ditto already rotated out and I'm just, thinking of another time. But even still, I would just run Dartrix. I wouldn't worry about running Rowlet. Just run Dartrix with these United Wings Pokemon. It's just another Pokemon to discard so that you can have a powerful attack. So yeah, Dartrix. Next up, we got Houndoom. Houndoom is an interesting one. Also stage 1. So far, just stage 1s. I like my stage 1s. What can I say? We're talking about the Snarl attack, right? And I think mostly Houndoom is important in the confines of Pauper. If you don't know, Pauper is a format where you play commons and uncommons only. It's a big hit in my Discord. It's a big hit on this channel even. I need to do more Pauper decks, honestly. But Houndoom for 3 energy does 100 damage, but also, during your opponent's next turn, attacks used by the defending Pokemon do 100 less damage. That's a lot less damage. That's like a lot less damage. You can throw on a pot helmet, and that's 130 less damage that you're taking. I'm sure there's other ways to take even less damage than that, but Houndoom looks like it's going to be a lot of fun in Pauper, and yeah, that 3 energy actually just seems kind of perfect for balance-wise in Pauper. Next, we've got Kingdra EX. So this Kingdra EX, we got to talk about it, because For 1 energy, King's Order. Put up to 3 water Pokemon from your discard pile onto your bench. It does not specify basic, so that's why I got Blastoise and Baxcalibur here. These are both energy accelerant, right? You may search your deck for up to 6 energy cards and attach them. Yeah, and these are great choices to have in a deck with Kingdra to accelerate all that energy. So Hydro Pump, its other attack, can do more damage because Hydro Pump always does more damage based on how much water energy is attached. So Baxcalibur and Blastoise, great choices. Yeah, and just being able to get stage 2s out without having to worry about evolving up. Sure, it takes an attack. As long as you aren't playing against a lightning deck, you should be fine, right? 310 HP is a lot. Let's keep moving on to the next one of Weavile. Now, this Weavile is interesting. I got Baxcalibur back up here because Weavile might need it. So, we're talking about this 2 energy attack Hail Claw for 70 damage. Discard all energy from this Pokemon. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed. Paralyze is a pain, right? It is kind of the strongest status condition in the game. And there's a reason why it comes with so much drawbacks. You gotta discard all energy from this Pokemon. The old Articuno that had it, it's from Silver Tempest, so not that old, but 2 energy, 70 damage again, but instead it did 50 damage to itself. So after the 3rd time using it, you knocked yourself out, right? Weavile just has to discard energy. That's like the easiest downside to recover from, right? And Baxcalibur will just let you accelerate those 2 back so easily. Just play energy retrieval. No need for superior energy retrieval. Just energy retrieval and Baxcalibur, and you get those energy back on, and you paralyze again. So Weavile, I think, is going to be very, very sneaky. Next up, we got Reverum. Mostly this is on the list because it's the only lightning Pokemon in the set, and it's not even a true lightning Pokemon. It's Reverum. That's a steel Pokemon. Come on. But I will admit, the single energy accelerator flash, where it does 140 damage as long as this Pokemon moved from your bench to the active spot this turn, that's ridiculous. That's a great amount of damage, right? That is fantastic. I love that. That is a good attack for Reverum. And then you just gotta switch it out, put up a free retreater, use that free retreat to come back into Reverum EX and do it turn after turn after turn, right? 140 is a good number. That's 2-hit KOing a rival Reverum, but you can also use some cards to manipulate the damage, say Vitality Band to do 150, like, and so on and so forth. There's a lot that you can do with that Reverum. Next up, Hypno, and this is where we have a lot for the types. This is the starting point for a lot for the types, if I remember correctly. So Hypno, another stage 1, look at that. For 2 energy, does 80 damage, and during your opponent's next turn, if they attach an energy card from their hand to the defending Pokemon, their turn ends. Their turn ends! That is ridiculous. Okay, attaching energy once per turn is a thing the game allows you to do for free. You don't gotta pay anything. It's just 1 energy per turn, right? And if you attach an energy to the defending Pokemon, your turn ends, meaning Hypno can attack again. Now, most people need to attach energy from their hand to the defending Pokemon for something, whether that's retreating that Pokemon to your attacker or powering up for an attack. But then you don't get to do anything beyond that on your turn. Your turn just ends. That is ridiculous. It is insane. Hypno is going to be in a controlling deck. I swear, some sort of control deck is going to make this work. Looks ridiculous. Next up, we got the Dusknoir, Dusclops, and even Duskull is good too. So, what we're talking about is this Curse Blast ability, right? Both Dusclops and Dusknoir have it. Dusknoir has the better version, the version that you'll want to play more of, but Dusclops has one that could be fine too. The ability is Curse Blast. Once during your turn, you may put a certain number of damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. If you use this ability, this Pokemon's knocked out. The number of damage counters is 13 for Dusknoir and 5 for Dusclops. that can knock out a lot of Pokemon. And it can also fix numbers. Now, you are giving up a prize to do this, but there are going to be those games where you start Duskull, right? Your opponent starts a 50 HP Pokemon, and you just are waiting for your turn, your first turn to evolve, so you can play down Dusclops, use Curse Blast, knock it out, and yeah, you knock yourself out, but if it's their only Pokemon in play, come on, right? But Dusknoir doing 13 damage counters is a heck of a lot. It can take care of problem cards. One of the favorite things I like about doing these sort of things is that during your turn, you give your opponent a card, but then you can grab a knockout, right? And then they gotta promote someone new, and then you can attack it, right? So I think these two are gonna be broken. People are talking a lot about it. In Japan, I guess it's doing very well. And I just wanted to point out, Duskull is good too. It's got this single energy, come and get you. Put up to 3 Duskull from your discard pile onto your bench. It's a way to accelerate Duskulls out onto your field, and that way you can get lots of evolutions, right? I think it's fantastic. Blood Moon Ursaluna. This one is really good, really interesting, and going to be a lot of fun, right? This is a single prize Blood Moon Ursaluna, and it's got this ability, Battle Harden. When you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench during your turn, you may attach up to 2 basic fighting energy cards from your hand to this Pokemon. That will accelerate the energy that you need for Blood Moon Ursaluna. Now, the tough part is you gotta have the energy in hand, but Earthen Vessel will take care of you, right? You get 2 fighting energy in your hand, you play down Blood Moon Ursaluna, you use that Battle Harden ability to play down 2 fighting energy, and then you just energy for turn and Mad Bite. And Mad Bite is kind of ridiculous, right? It does 100 damage base, and then it does 30 more damage for each damage counter on your opponent's active. Now, that is considered before the 100 damage happens, right? Or else it just one-hit KO everything. But 30 damage for each damage counter on your opponent's active is a lot. Like, normally we get attacks that do 10 damage. Sometimes, holy cow, we get attacks that do 20 damage, and we're like, oh man, that's good. So how's Blood Moon Ursaluna not good, right? Blood Moon Ursaluna's gotta be fun. I gotta play it, right? I gotta play it. I think it's gonna be fun, and I can't wait to play it. So, yeah, Blood Moon Ursaluna makes the jank list. Next up, we got Crobat. Now, Crobat is such an interesting Pokemon. Right now, I want to break down the ability, right? Shadow Envy, or Envoy. Once during your turn, if you played Janine's Secret Art from your hand this turn, you may draw cards until you have 8 cards in your hand. Janine's Secret Art is another card coming in this set. Crobat and Janine are both uncommon. So for Popper, this is going to be insane. This is a draw card, basically. Crobat is basically a draw card for your Popper deck. Will it work for a lot of decks? Doubtful, but, you know, I've been proven wrong before. But I think that is impressive. A stage 2, though, is hard to get out. But, you know, how hard is it really, right? Crobat just seems awesome. Oh, right, I wanted to talk about the other half of Crobat. Crobat, for 2 energy, Poison Fang does 120. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned during Pokemon Checkup. Put 2 damage counters on that Pokemon instead of 1. We got our normal Radiant, Hisuian Sneasler, and Perilous Jungle. That means you're doing 120, plus 20 from Poison, so 140, plus 20 from Radiant, Hisuian Sneasler, so that's 160, plus 20 from Perilous Jungle, that's 180. From a single prize stage 2 Pokemon for 2 energy. I think that's phenomenal. I think that could see play. I think that would be a lot of fun. Now, Hisuian Sneasler obviously won't work in Popper, but Perilous Jungle would. And hitting 160 in Popper is still really good. Alright, next up. We got Zoroark. This Zoroark is amazing. I love it. Yeah, for 2 energy, Illusory Hijacking. Love the name. Difficult for me to say, but love it. Oh man, can't use that shoulder, right? 2 energy, Illusory Hijacking, 60 times. This attack does 60 damage for each of your opponent's EX and Pokemon V in play. surprise, surprise, there's a lot of EXs and a lot of Vs in the format. People have a lot of those out, right? And just for a double colorless or double turbo energy, you can be doing 60 for each one your opponent has out, which can add up to a lot. This is the kind of card that you play like a 1/1 line of it in your deck, and it just does phenomenal work when you use it, right? It's ironically, if you remember last format, there was a deck archetype called Zorobox. This would work great in Zorobox. Too bad that deck's gone, but you know what I mean. Next up, we got Malamar. Malamar looks sick. Like, this art... Okay, there was one episode of the Pokemon anime XY where it was about Malamar, and it legitimately creeped me out. Full-grown adult creeped me out. Malamar was... I gotta rewatch it, right? It's been a while. But this one, it's up there, right? That art is up there. I love the shading on it, how it's so, like, it's realistic lighting and shading on it. Like, it just looks so freaking cool. And then you add in its attack, where for one energy, colluding tentacles... switch in one of your opponent's benched Pokemon to the active spot, meaning you choose which one. If you do, this attack does 120 damage to the new active Pokemon. If you didn't play sorry, I had it in my mind. 06 Machinations from your hand during this turn, this attack does nothing. So you have to play this supporter every turn you attack with Malamar. And every turn, you get to drag up one of their Pokemon and deal 120 damage to it. And that would KO like a Barrel, right? People play Barrel. But I think more importantly, what it does is it controls your opponent on what Pokemon can be in the active, and you're dealing damage too. So, like, there's going to be a point where you just start taking KO after KO, right? And you're removing what they need, and you're blocking them from doing what they need to. Add to that Xerosix Machinations, where I'll get into it later, but it makes your opponent discard cards from their hand until they have 3 cards in their hand. That's it, just 3 cards. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. This Malamar, I think, is sick. I think it would be great to see it play. Yveltal. Yveltal is no stranger to being a good card, right? And this one, wow, it's an uncommon. Did not see that coming. Popper, watch out. But Corrosive Winds for 1 energy. Put 2 damage counters on each of your opponent's Pokemon that has any damage counters on it. I was thinking of Hisuian Bravery. That lets you put 3 damage counters on each of your opponent's Pokemon that has any damage on it. But Hisuian Bravery is a stage 1. But it had a 0 energy attack cost. Where Yveltal is a basic with 1 energy attack cost. Like, that's pretty good. Putting 2 damage counters, it gets around the Terra rule, which is huge. Any of your opponent's Terra Pokemon that have damage counters on, Yveltal can still put 2 damage counters on. And I like this. This is some sort of spread, right? However, Jirachi blocks it, right? Stellar Veil, prevent all damage counters from being placed on your benched Pokemon by effects of attacks used by your opponent's basic Pokemon. Yveltal's basic, Jirachi counters it. But how many people are actually playing Jirachi, right? Everyone says, oh yeah, just throw 1 copy of Jirachi in there. How many of you actually are, right? It's just to block Sableye. How often you run to Lost Box now? According to Limitless, you probably should be playing Jirachi. Okie dokie EX. So the trio, what are they called? The Sinister Trio or whatever. They all got EXs, right? Previous set, Twilight Masquerade, they got their regular forms. This set, they get their EXs. And Okie dokie EX has an okay first attack, right? It's fine. But what we're going to be focused on is its second attack. The first attack just helps you get powered up for the second attack, right? You don't want to have to use the second attack. You want to be able to do other things, right? So Okidogi EX. If this Pokemon is poisoned, this attack does 130 more, right? So for 3 energy, you're doing 130. But if you're poisoned, you do 260. That's a lot. That will KO an opponent's Okidogi EX. So that is something to be aware of. There's a lot of that in this set, and I mention it a lot coming up. Brute Bonnet is a Pokemon you have to think about in this set because it will poison both your opponent's active and your active. And Okidogi wants to be poisoned so it can do 260 damage, then poison will kick in and do 270. And if you got Perilous Jungle out there, it'll do 290. Like, come on, it starts adding up, right? Alright, next up. We got Munkidori EX. Munkidori EX, it's interesting. I don't think this one's nearly as good as Okidogi, but the ability is interesting, right? So the ability is, oh no you don't. If this Pokemon is knocked out by damage from an attack from your opponent's Pokemon, and if you have any Pekarant EX in play, your opponent takes 1 fewer prize card. Pekarant EX is a card we'll be talking about soon, but just has to be in play, and Munkidori becomes a single prize Pokemon. Yeah, it only does 190. Yeah, it can't attack the next turn. But there's gotta be something there, right? I think so. A single prize big EX like this is ridiculous, so yeah. Next up, we got Pheasantipity EX. And this one is the one that'll probably see play even outside of, like, just about in every deck, right? It reminds me of the old Oricorio GX. I don't know if you guys remember that one. But the ability, flip the script. Once during your turn, if any of your Pokemon were knocked out during your opponent's last turn, you may draw 3 cards. You can't use more than 1 flip the script ability each turn. So yeah, you can't use it multiple times, but we are in a format where everyone's playing Rotom V because Instant Charge is a great ability to draw up when you don't have anything else to do. Imagine if you could use Instant Charge, but it didn't end your turn. That's what Pheasantipity does for you, right? You do have to have a Pokemon that was knocked out, so okay. That is the drawback, but Flip the Script is still an amazing draw, and I think it's going to see play in a lot of decks. So yeah, it's going to be a new engine for people. Pekarant EX. We finally got to it, right? We were just talking about it. The ability Subjugating Chains. Subjugating Chains. Once during your turn, you may switch one, I don't know why it says 12 there, one of your bench Darkness Pokemon, except a Pekarant EX, with your active Pokemon. If you do, the new active Pokemon is now poisoned, you can't use more than 1 Subjugating Chains ability each turn. So it's a way to get your active Pokemon poisoned and get your right attacker in there. So with Munkidori, you could just be using this and switching them out constantly, you know, until your opponent knocks it out, right? And then they only get 1 prize because it's a Munkidori EX and you got Pekarant EX in play, and so on and so forth, right? Or Okidogi can go in there poisoned and do the 260, right? Like, there is use to this, and I think it's going to be good, but I don't think it's going to see a lot of play, honestly. It's an EX bench sitter with only 190 HP, and its effect is just a switch, and it gives you poison. Like, it gives you poison, not your opponent poison, which hurts it. Genesect not an EX. Sorry, I was confused. This Genesect, not an EX, a single prize Pokemon, a uncommon, so a lot of people are going to have it, has an amazing ability that will not be important in Popper. The ability Ace Nullifier. If this Pokemon has a Pokemon tool attached, your opponent can't play any A-Spec cards from their hand. No Prime Catcher, no Unfair Stamp, can't play down that Legacy Energy, can't play, the Hero's Cape. They can't play them from their hand. If they're already out, they're still active, the Legacy Energy and Hero's Cape and whatnot, but they can't play any from their hand, and that can disrupt opponent a lot. Ancient decks really rely off that ancient drum sometimes, or that secret box to discard and have Roaring Moon hit, or that kind of stuff. Other decks rely on Prime Catcher replacing one of their boss's orders, Unfair Stamp to replace one of their Ionos, so that they can have an item card that does the same effect. However, that item card's also searchable through Arvin, where Iono and boss's orders aren't, so that gets a little complicated. But now Jazzek just goes, no ace specs for you. I can still play my ace spec, you can't. Now the baller move is to attach a Hero's Cape to Genesect, or Legacy Energy to Genesect, or it's gotta be Hero's Cape, but still, like, attach a Hero's Cape to Genesect, and then it's like a 210 HP Pokemon, and you don't get your ace spec, and mine's stuck on this bench sitter. That's the true baller move, and I might have to do that in some decks. Alright, next up I want to talk about Fracture. You saw me pull it in my early opening. The ability Unnerve. Whenever your opponent plays an item or supporter card from their hand, prevent all effects of that card done to this Pokemon. That means no boss's orders, no Prime Catcher. That's about it. Yeah, so it lets you protect your Pokemon. And now this is a stage 1 that I want to run, right? Because if I can protect my bench just by playing Fracture down, and then they're not able to target that Pokemon, right? Like, there's definitely cards there that I think are important for Fracture to nullify. And really, it just helps you protect for when you evolve into Haxorus. Haxorus looks ridiculous. I mean, both in the fact that it's got 2 axes on the side of its head, so it, like, shakes to, like, headbutt trees to chop them down. I don't get it. But it's got arms down here, and the arms aren't, like, yeah, whatever. But for 1 energy, bring down the axe. And I don't know. I hear Gimli from Lord of the Rings yelling that. I don't know if you all do. Bring down the axe. If your opponent's active Pokemon has any special energy attached, it is knocked out. So that could be Legacy Energy, Luminous Energy, Neo Upper Energy, Reversal Energy, Boomerang Energy, any of those, right? And at the same time, this is just like, hey, Lugia. That's it. That's all Haxorus has to say, right? But yeah, I love it. And then 2 energy, 230 damage. Yeah, you discard the top 3 cards of your deck, but 230 damage. You're knocking out my Ogerpons there, So yeah, fantastic. I think this could see some play, and this is a dangerous arsenal for Regidrago V-Star, right? You just throw this down, and it's just, oh, you have special energy, I'll just knock you out. Oh, I got nothing else to do, 230. Like, yeah, it's good. Kyurem. Oh boy, Kyurem. So, I almost did the thing that I did last time that I did with Crobat, right? Have 2 pages of this, but you really have to take it all in at once. So the ability is mainly what we're focused on, right? If your opponent has any cards in their discard pile that have Colress in the name, this Pokemon can use the Trifrost attack for 1 energy. Not the Triforce, the Trifrost. And the Trifrost, usually for 5 energy, but this time for 1, because your opponent's playing Colress's Experiment, one of the top draw cards in the format, or they're playing Colress's Tenacity, which is one of the few ways to search out a Stadium and a Special Energy card. And what you get to do is discard all energy from this Pokemon. This attack does 110 to 3 of your opponent's bench. Goodbye Lost Box, right? Like, you're just going to be doing that damage to their Comfies or their Cramorants or whatever. It's the perfect amount for Cramorant. Okay, keep that in mind. But they can knock out Comfies, they can knock out Sableye, they can knock out your Cramorants and whatnot. So, Lost Box, you got to play Manphy again. Sorry. But Kyurem is going to be massive. And it's going to be such the baller play, right? When no one's playing Kyurem, people are going to play these Colress's cards. When people start playing these Colress cards, Kyurem's going to start to see play, which will drop the C of Colress. So it will be this interesting balance, right? Do you risk it all and walk up to a tournament playing Colress, which are some great cards, expecting not to see Kyurem, or do you walk into a tournament expecting to see Colress, so you walk in with Kyurem, right? Like, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, but seriously, I think it's a great card. We're on to the trainers, finally. Academy at Night. Once during each player's turn, that player may put a card from their hand on top of their deck. The thing I instantly thought of were these two fire Pokemon. Camerupt with the Eruption attack, and Magcargo with the Ground Burn attack. And they're both pretty much similar, right? You discard the top card of each player's deck, and this attack does more damage for each energy card discarded in this way. Magcargo, base 140, plus 140 for each card. You throw in Team Star Grunt so you can force your opponent to discard an energy card. And you can do, I didn't do the math beforehand, that was silly, was that 420 damage with Magcargo and 250 damage with Camerupt? Both of those have to be respected. The Magcargo especially, but that Cramorant, 250 from a single prizer for 2 energy. You gotta keep in mind of that. Like, you throw in a maximum belt and you're doing 300, like, there's, yeah, it's gonna be good. Ooh, okay, so Binding Mochi, I think it's called. Attacks used by the poisoned Pokemon this card is attached to do 40 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. There's been quite a few instances of, hey, this Pokemon wants poison, right? Or this Pokemon's gonna be poisoned, right? And Brute Bonnet poisons your Pokemon. Throw on this tool, do 40 more damage. That Cramorant has poison on it, is now doing 290, right? Like, it's Binding Mochi, which is searchable with Arven, makes Brute Bonnet and Ancient Booster Energy Capsules such an easy play in so many decks. Then you're doing 40 more damage, and it's just going to fix numbers for you, right? Just going to fix numbers for you. And you have that on your Ogie Dogie EX. You're doing 300 plus Poison plus Perilous Jungle. Like, come on, right? You're not going to have Charizard then, right? Right. Oh, there we go. Colress's Tenacity. We talked a little bit about this not too long ago. Search your deck for a Stadium card and an Energy card. Reveal them, put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck. Lets you grab a Stadium and a Energy. An Energy, not a basic Energy. So that means you can grab a special energy, which is mainly what Colress is going to be there for. Plus, you get to grab a Stadium. I think the Stadium is mostly like the extra, where the special energy is really where it's at. But it's beautiful that it's coming in this set, because there are some stadiums, a stadium, you might want to pay attention to, right? But it's just going to be such a good search card. Just beware of Kyurem, right? Next up, we got Janine's Secret Art. We talked about this a little bit during the Crobat thing, but you get to choose up to 2 of your Darkness Pokemon. For each of those Pokemon, search your deck for a basic Darkness Energy card and attach it to that Pokemon. Then shuffle your deck. If you attached energy to your active Pokemon in this way, it is now poisoned. And I'm thinking, Roaring Moon, why? Did Roaring Moon not have enough support? Roaring Moon EX, oh, I couldn't find my Professor Sawdust, but at least I found my Janine Secret Art. Let's get some more Darkness Energy out there. It's a good accelerant, you know? And as long as if you don't accelerate to the active, then you won't have any poisoned Pokemon. So if you do, you're just poisoned. Like, that's not that big of a deal, right? Make sure you play Janine's Secret Art before you evolve or something, because evolution removes poison. Night Stretcher. Ooh, I am so glad they're bringing back a Stretcher. Rescue Stretcher was such a popular card during the Sun and Moon era, came out in Guardians Rising. It was what I consider to be a perfect Pokemon recovery card. Absolutely perfect. What Rescue Stretcher let you do is put a Pokemon from your discard pile into your hand, or shuffle 3 Pokemon from your discard pile into your deck. So if you need that one Pokemon, could be an evolution even, you get to put it right into your hand. Night Stretcher is very similar. You get to put a Pokemon or a basic energy card from your discard pile into your hand. So it doesn't give you the option of shuffling to deck or into hand. You get it into hand regardless, but it's a Pokemon or a basic energy. And I'm just thinking, There's so many times where you might need that one Pokemon and it's in your discard, and Night Stretcher can get it for you, right? And you can search Night Stretcher by using Arven, right? Like, Arven's super popular card. Or you need that energy, and Teal Mask Ogerpon's there because sometimes you just want that one more energy so that you can just draw that one more card, because you know you're going to top deck the perfect card. Because I always know I'm going to top deck. I've got the vids to prove it. But Ogerpon could really use that too. So yeah, love it. I think it's a fantastic card. Not as good as Rescue Stretcher, but still really good. Night Stretcher. Power Glass. Power Glass is going to be an annoying tool. So it's a tool, right? Straight up. At the end of your turn, if the Pokemon this card is attached to is in the active spot, you may attach a basic energy card from your discard pile to it. So I believe someone in the chat or in my Discord, I can't remember who, brought up Ambipom. Just a way to keep piling on the energy while Ambipom's in the active and flipping heads to prevent damage, right? That's annoying. And then full tilt, you're just doing more damage, right? And there's other cards that do similar things that could use that too. Pheasantipity and whatnot. But my thought went to Radiant Greninja and how broken Radiant Greninja's about to be, right? Oh, 3 energy, but you discard 2. That seems balanced because you only attach 1 per turn. I mean, I guess you could, like Baxcalibur, to get 3 on there or in 1 turn. So it's hard to do the 90 damage to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon every turn. But Power Glass came along and went, hey, what if you could do it every turn, no problem? You just throw Power Glass on Radiant Greninja. You got 3 energy, you discard 2 of them, and then Power Glass gives you 1, and then your next turn attachment for 1, and you're at 3 again. So Radiant Greninja can just be attacking it over and over and over and over. And, of course, Radiant Greninja is also a fantastic example of how those energies are getting the discard in the first place. Power Glass. Frickin' way too good. Okay, this dude again. Xerosic Machinations. I hope I got this right at least once in the video. Your opponent discards cards from their hand until they have 3 cards in their hand. Super disruptive. We talked about the Malamar and how powerful that's going to be. Being able to just bring up different Pokemon, damage them, control the field. Like, yeah, and how that Malamar's art is just fantastic. I don't want to mispronounce the name, so I won't try. But they did fantastic work on this art. Like, holy cow. But there is a card someone brought up during my live stream, I believe. Or it might have been my friend personally that I know. I don't know who. No, I think it was during my live stream because we were talking about Sharpedo. Because Sharpedo, with the Chew Off attack, is going to be hilarious with this card, right? Chew Off for 2 energy does 50 damage. You flip 3 coins for each heads, discard a random card from your opponent's hand. So your opponent has to discard till 3 cards, right? Then you flip 3 coins, and if all 3 of those are heads, you discard their entire hand. Oh, and you did 50 damage. Who cares about the damage? They have no hand. Their hands, it's gone. Yeah, fantastic. This guy's card is going to be awesome, and this is number 64 out of 64. So we are coming to the end here, right? And I appreciate each and every one of you that have stuck through this over 40-minute video. So far, it's only been like 38, 39. It's going to be over 40, though. Because next thing we got to talk about is Apex. Kind of went past those, right? And we got to talk about them. They're important. And I got them listed here from best to worst. Best is here. Worst, way over there. Way over there. So, Neutralization Zone is the best of them. Prevent all damage done to Pokemon that don't have a rule box by attacks from your opponent's Pokemon, EX and Pokemon V. Kind of wish it just said from your opponent's rule box Pokemon, or Pokemon that have rule boxes. Just Pokemon EX and V. It does limit it quite a bit. But it looks like they're going to start doing this to more Apex, and I don't like it. But I understand the reason for it. It comes with the caveat of this card can't be put into your hand or deck from the discard pile. Once you lose this, it's gone forever, which really stinks. You know, so many people just want to win the Stadium War. Now, there aren't too many Stadium Wars happening, but I can think of a few. And Neutralization Zone's just going to get discarded so often. And the fact that you can't recover it, even though recovery of stadiums is super rough, yeah, that kind of sucks. The next best one is Dangerous Laser. It just leaves your opponent's active Pokemon burned and confused. It's not too great, but it's still pretty good, and if you can recover an item card, you can just do that over and over again, right? And I think that's hilarious. There was an item card back in the XY, Hypnotoxic Laser. I believe it poisoned and put them asleep, and asleep is a flip, just like burn, but poison dealt damage, which burn deals damage. Confused, though, is a great stas condition. I've got a whole video about it. So I like Dangerous Laser, plus you can add that to, like, the poison that you're going to be doing with Brute Bonnet, right? Don't forget about that. So they're burned, poison, and confused, and it's just a great combo. Dangerous Laser, I think, is going to be fun. Pokevital A. Heal 150 damage from one of your Pokemon. Okay, that's cool. This might work in a control-y sort of deck. 150 isn't that much, like, comparatively nowadays. You know, most noteworthy Pokemon are doing like 200 plus. So, yeah, like 150 is a good amount for an A-Spec card. That's good. The reason why it's the worst, in my opinion, of these three is the caveat of the card can't be put into your hand or deck from the discard pile. Meaning it's a one-and-done sort of thing. You don't get any more healing from this card, and that just makes it so unreliable, right? I don't like it as much. I'm sure it's going to see more play than Dangerous Laser, because we don't have a nice, easy way to reuse items. But if we ever get that, Dangerous Laser will shoot up and play. But Prime Catcher is always going to be better. Unfair Stamp is always going to be better than most of these, or all of these, honestly. But I do think Neutralization Zone is going to be a good option for people. I've been going Legacy Energy in most of my single prize decks. Neutralization Zone does make an argument, though. Definitely. Because if their EX and V Pokemon can't hurt me. Alright, let's talk about Stellar Crown. Stellar Crown is the next set after Shrouded Fable. Stellar Crown releases September 13th, so it's releasing very soon. Gonna get 3 new A-Specs cards, 10 Pokemon EX, 4 Stellar EX, 4 Stellar Terra Pokemon EX, which I'll explain what that is in a second. 13 Illustration Rare Pokemon, 6 Special Illustration Rare Pokemon, and supporter cards, 3 Hyper Rare Gold Etched cards. All sounds fantastic. Can't wait. Looking forward to it. That's my birthday month. Hopefully I can scrounge up some money to get the ETB. Stellar Terra Pokemon are the next big thing. And they're weird, right? The Terra rule is the same, sadly. And these Pokemon require energy types of like 3 different types to function. Right now, Terapagos looks like it's going to be the best. Especially since I don't know how you're going to pay for most of these attacks. These are Japanese scans. They haven't released the English scans of these yet. I know I cover sets pretty late in their release. Let me know if you think I should be covering cards more frequently, new released cards more frequently. Maybe I could have like a weekly video that I do that's just the new cards that have been announced this week. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, or do you like these big release day or near release day videos where I go through a bunch of cards and let you know what's important? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Let me know what you pull from Shrouded Fable, and be sure to check out the Discord where you can post your polls in the Discord, and we can all see what you pulled and be jealous of you. Also, like, subscribe, ring the bell, so you know when I'm live, and yeah, just say hi, you know? And of course, until next time, keep playing Jank.